Welcome, my dear friends, to another night of whispers and shadows. The world is filled with places time has forgotten, buildings where laughter once rang out, where footsteps echoed down busy halls, where life thrived until it didn't. Yet not entirely empty. Some say the air inside them feels heavier, that the walls hold memories, that the shadows sometimes move when you aren't looking. Tonight, we're stepping into the darkness together, visiting 20 of the most haunted, abandoned places in the United States. So, keep your flashlight close, hold your courage tighter, and let's begin.
Eastern State Penitentiary in Philadelphia stands as one of the most haunting monuments to America's penal history. Built in 1829, it was the most expensive prison of its time and a revolutionary experiment in reform through isolation. Its design was unlike anything seen before, a massive Gothic fortress of stone, with high walls and looming towers that made escape seem impossible. The concept was simple but cruel. Prisoners were to be kept in solitary confinement, cut off from all human contact, with only a Bible for company. The founders believed that this would encourage repentance, but the reality was far darker. Each cell had a single skylight, called the Eye of God, meant to remind inmates that they were always watched, not just by guards, but by a higher power. Meals were slipped through small openings, and exercise took place in narrow, walled yards where prisoners could not see or speak to anyone else. Silence was absolute. Over the decades, the unrelenting isolation broke many minds. Inmates suffered mental collapse, hallucinations, and despair. Some clawed at the stone walls until their fingers bled. Others stopped speaking entirely. Time moved slowly within those cell blocks, and death often came quietly. Disease, suicide, and violence claimed countless lives. The stones themselves seemed to absorb the agony. Even after reforms brought an end to total isolation in the early 20th century, the atmosphere remained oppressive. Guards and prisoners alike whispered of strange noises and fleeting shadows in the corners of their vision. Perhaps the most infamous inmate was gangster Al Capone, who served time here in the late 1920s. His cell was furnished more luxuriously than most, complete with a desk, rugs, and a radio, but comfort did not protect him from the prison's strange presence. Capone claimed that night after night, he heard the tormented voices of men who had died because of him. In particular, he spoke of a ghost named Jimmy, a man believed to have been one of his Prohibition-era victims. Guards reported hearing Capone shouting into the darkness, begging the unseen spirit to leave him alone. By the mid-1900s, the penitentiary had become outdated and overcrowded. Modern prison designs and shifting philosophies rendered it obsolete. In 1971, after nearly 150 years of operation, Eastern State closed its doors. The building was left to decay, its corridors filling with dust and debris, nature slowly reclaiming the once imposing fortress. But abandonment did not bring silence. Visitors who ventured inside in the years that followed told of ghostly footsteps echoing through the empty halls, the faint clanging of cell doors, and low moans drifting in the cold air. Some felt invisible hands brush their shoulders or tug at their clothing. Others reported seeing shadowy figures dart between cells, vanishing into the darkness before they could be followed. Paranormal investigators captured unexplained voices on recordless whispers that seemed to come from nowhere, yet carried the weight of desperation. Today, Eastern State Penitentiary stands as both a museum and a reminder of the human cost of its philosophy. Its crumbling cell blocks remain much as they were left in 1971. With peeling paint, rusted bars, and collapsing ceilings. Tour guides speak of specific hotspots for activist Cell Block 12, known for loud disembodied laughter. Cell Block 6, where people see dark, human-shaped figures, and the Old Guard Tower, where phantom footsteps circle endlessly. Visitors walking the echoing halls describe an unshakable sensation of being watched, even when no one is nearby. Cold drafts sweep through rooms with no open windows, and some guests find their cameras malfunctioning, as if the building itself resists being documented. The prison's isolation cells, with their heavy doors and tiny view slots, are particularly unsettling. Stepping inside feels like entering a place that was never meant to see daylight again. Those who leave often speak of a lingering heaviness that follows them out. Some have vivid dreams of the prison for nights afterward, dreams in which the walls seem to close in, or in which the sound of keys rattling just outside their door jolts them awake. Whether these experiences are the result of an overactive imagination, the psychological impact of the prison's grim history, or something truly supernatural, they are difficult to dismiss. Eastern State Penitentiary's chilling allure lies in the way it blurs the line between history and haunting. It is a place where suffering was routine, where silence was both a punishment and a weapon, and where the architecture itself seems to have been designed to crush the human spirit. Standing inside its massive stone walls, it's easy to believe that the anguish of thousands still lingers, woven into the very fabric of the building. For some, it is simply a fascinating historical testament to the extremes of early American justice. For others, it is a place where the past refuses to stay buried, where shadows carry memories, and where every creak and whisper is a reminder that some prisoners never left. Those who dare to walk its corridors today are stepping not only into history, but into a realm where time feels suspended, and where the echoes of the past are still very much alive. Eastern State Penitentiary may no longer hold the living, but for those who believe, its cells remain full. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum in Weston, West Virginia, looms over the landscape like a monument to a forgotten era. Built in the mid-1800s, it was originally designed to house just 250 patients, under the principles of the Kirkbride planner theory that fresh air, sunlight, and space could help heal mental illness. Its grand Gothic Revival architecture and sprawling 19th-century stone facade were meant to inspire hope. But as the years passed, the reality inside its walls became anything but therapeutic. By the late 19th century, the asylum was already overcrowded. Instead of 250 patients, it held more than 2,000, crammed into rooms and hallways never meant for such numbers. Conditions deteriorated rapidly. Patients were left in soiled clothing, fed inadequate meals, and subjected to outdated and brutal treatments: ice baths, electroshock therapy, and even lobotomies. Many arrived with treatable conditions, only to leave, if they left at all, far worse than when they came. The building became a place of immense suffering, and death was a frequent visitor. Illness, malnutrition, abuse, and even violence between patients claimed countless lives. Staff worked under crushing pressure, and not all were kind. Stories circulated of cruel attendants and patients locked away in isolation cells for weeks at a time. Some died in their rooms, others in the long hallways, their cries echoing until they faded into silence. Over time, the asylum's very walls seemed to soak in the misery. When the institution finally closed in 1994, it was already infamous for its dark history. Abandoned and left to decay, the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum became something else entirely: a magnet for those fascinated by the paranormal. What they found inside only deepened its reputation. The moment you step through the heavy front doors, the air feels colder, heavier, as if the building itself is breathing around you. Long, dim corridors stretch into the distance, lined with peeling paint and rusted doors. Some rooms are still littered with rusting bed frames, old medical equipment, and tattered patient files, as if the asylum were frozen in time. Even in broad daylight, there's a strange quality to the light inside, muted, almost reluctant to touch the floor. Visitors often describe hearing faint whispers just beyond earshot, voices that vanish when pursued. Others have heard sudden screams, their source impossible to pinpoint. The sound of footsteps, slow, dragging, deliberate, often follows those walking the halls, though no one can be seen. The main ward is notorious for cold spots, where the temperature drops abruptly by several degrees, as if something unseen has moved past you. Paranormal investigators have recorded bursts of static and strange voices on their equipment, sometimes answering questions directly. The asylum's fourth floor is one of its most active areas. Dark shapes flit between the shadows, and many visitors report a feeling of overwhelming dread upon entering. Some claim they've seen full-bodied apparitions, men and women dressed in outdated hospital gowns, their faces pale and expressionless. A few have described seeing figures pressed against the glass windows, only for them to vanish when approached. One well-known spirit said to linger is that of a patient named Lily. According to legend, Lily was a young girl who grew up within the asylum's walls after being abandoned by her family. Some say she died there. Others believe her spirit is simply tied to the only home she knew. Visitors often leave toys in her room, only to return and find them moved. Music boxes play on their own, and soft giggles echo in the stillness. Not all the spirits are gentle. Some appear violent or hostile, especially in the areas once used for the most aggressive patients. Reports of people being pushed, scratched, or grabbed are common. In the old isolation cells, the darkness feels tangible, and many leave abruptly, unable to shake the sensation of being trapped. Those who stay too long speak of a suffocating pressure, as if unseen eyes are fixed on them from every corner. Even outside, the grounds carry an eerie weight. The massive stone structure casts a long shadow, and the empty windows seem to watch from above. On certain nights, faint lights have been seen flickering in the upper floors. Though the building has no active electricity in those areas, some claim to hear faint piano music drifting from the old recreation hall, despite the instrument being long gone. The Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum is more than just an abandoned building. It's a place where history and horror are inseparable. Its halls witnessed over a century of human suffering, and whether through the power of memory, energy, or something beyond our understanding, that suffering seems to linger. Today, guided tours allow the curious to walk those same corridors, their footsteps echoing against the same stone walls that once held thousands of broken lives. Some come for history, others for the thrill of the unknown. Many leave with stories of their own moments they can't explain, feelings they can't shake, and a few, whether they admit it or not, leave with the haunting impression that the asylum is not entirely empty, that perhaps, even in silence, it is still very much alive. The old Idaho State Penitentiary in Boise stands as a grim testament to over a century of incarceration, violence, and human suffering. From its opening in 1872 until its closure in 1973, this prison housed some of Idaho's most dangerous criminals, its walls bearing silent witness to the stories of desperation, brutality, and death. Today, as an abandoned relic of a darker time, it has become a beacon for those drawn to the paranormal, a place where the echoes of its violent past still reverberate through the crumbling cell blocks. Designed in the late 19th century, the penitentiary was built with imposing granite walls and iron bars meant to deter, escape, and instill fear. Its layout reflected the harsh penal philosophies of the era, emphasizing punishment over rehabilitation. Within its cold, concrete confines, prisoners endured long sentences, grueling labor, and the constant threat of violence, both from fellow inmates and the guards who oversaw them. The prison's history is marked by frequent unrest. Riots broke out as inmates pushed back against overcrowding and brutal conditions. These uprisings often ended in bloodshed, with guards resorting to lethal force to regain control. One of the most notorious incidents occurred in the early 1950s, when an uprising led to several deaths and left the penitentiary shaken to its core. Stories of inmates attacking each other and desperate fights to maintain order became part of the penitentiary's grim legacy. Executions were also carried out within its walls. The prison's gallows, long since removed, claimed the lives of several condemned men. Their final moments were marked by somber rituals, but in the years since, witnesses and investigators alike have reported strange phenomena near the old execution site. Some say the anguished spirits of those who met violent ends still linger, trapped by unfinished business or a thirst for justice. Paranormal activity at the old Idaho State Penitentiary has drawn investigators and thrill-seekers for decades. Numerous accounts tell of chilling encounters, unexplained noises, and eerie sensations. Visitors frequently speak of an overwhelming sense of dread as they navigate the dimly lit corridors, feeling as if unseen eyes are watching their every move. It's not uncommon for people to experience sudden cold spots that seem to follow them, or to hear footsteps pacing just behind them only to turn and find empty halls. The solitary confinement cells are particularly notorious for paranormal activity. These small, steel-lined rooms were designed to isolate inmates completely, denying them contact with the outside world. Prisoners here often faced psychological torment as intense as their physical punishment. Today, visitors and investigators claim to hear desperate pounding and banging against the heavy steel doors, sounds that seem to come from nowhere, echoing through the empty penitentiary long after the prison closed. Some have reported muffled screams and cries for help, as if the walls themselves remember the anguish endured within. In several instances, paranormal investigators have captured unexplained voices on audio recordings, whispers, cries, and sometimes distinct words that seem to plead for release or warn the living to stay away. Cameras have caught shadowy figures moving swiftly out of frame, and thermal imaging devices detect sudden drops in temperature indicative of unseen presences. One particularly chilling tale involves an old prisoner known only as the warden's shadow. Legend holds that this man, a former inmate, died under mysterious circumstances while imprisoned. Since the penitentiary's closure, some visitors have reported seeing a dark, faceless figure in a guard's uniform patrolling the hallways, moving silently and vanishing when approached. Others say they felt a cold hand resting briefly on their shoulder, only to turn and find no one there. Many who enter the penitentiary as abandoned corridors speak of an oppressive atmosphere, an intangible weight that presses down on the chest and saps the spirit. It's a feeling that seems to grow stronger near certain cells, particularly those where the most violent inmates were housed. The energy in these areas is thick, as if the memories of fights, executions, and hopelessness are etched into the very stone. Despite its grim reputation, the old Idaho State Penitentiary is now open to the public as a museum and historical site. Visitors can explore the crumbling cell blocks, solitary confinement units, and guard towers, walking the same paths once tread by desperate prisoners and hardened guards. Guided tours often include stories of paranormal encounters, inviting guests to listen closely for the echoes of the past. Some thrill-seekers choose to stay overnight in the penitentiary, hoping to catch a glimpse of the supernatural. They bring recording devices, cameras, and EMF meters, eager to document any unusual activity. Many leave with compelling evidence, disembodied voices caught on tape, and chilling sensations that linger long after they've departed. But perhaps the most unsettling aspect of the old Idaho State Penitentiary is its reminder of the human cost of punishment and neglect. Behind the tales of hauntings and shadowy figures are real lives marked by fear, pain, and suffering. The prison's ghosts are not merely spirits, they are echoes of trauma, memories of cruelty, and lingering cries for justice. As visitors walk through the penitentiary's abandoned halls today, they walk through history itself, history steeped in hardship, resilience, and the darker side of human nature. Whether one believes in ghosts or not, the old Idaho State Penitentiary is a place where the past refuses to be forgotten, and where the walls speak in silence about the souls who once called it home. In the end, the prison stands as a powerful reminder. Places marked by pain and injustice often carry invisible scars. The old Idaho State Penitentiary is more than just a building. It's a haunted monument to the past, where the living and the dead are entwined in a restless, eternal dance. Waverly Hills Sanatorium, perched on a hill overlooking Louisville, Kentucky, is a chilling reminder of the tuberculosis epidemic that claimed thousands of lives in the early 20th century. Built between 1910 and 1926, this sprawling medical facility was designed to isolate and treat patients suffering from tuberculosis, then known as disease that was highly contagious and almost always fatal before the advent of modern antibiotics. The sanatorium quickly became a grim monument to human suffering. At its peak, Waverly Hills housed over 400 patients, many in advanced stages of the disease. Despite the best efforts of medical staff, the death toll climbed steadily, reaching into the thousands over the decades of operation. The sanatorium's architecture, with its long hallways, multiple wings, and numerous patient rooms, reflects a desperate attempt to provide care and containment. Yet beneath its grand facade lay sorrow and despair. One of the sanatorium's most notorious features was the body chute, a concealed passageway built to discreetly transport the deceased from the upper floors directly to the basement. This chute allowed staff to remove bodies without disturbing or alarming other patients. The use of the chute underscored the grim reality that death was a constant visitor at Waverly Hills. The basement, often referred to as the death tunnel, became a silent mausoleum filled with the remains of those who succumbed to the disease. Though Waverly Hills closed its doors in 1961, the echoes of its dark past continue to reverberate through its decaying halls. Visitors who explore the sanatorium today report a haunting atmosphere unlike any other. The building does not merely feel abandoned. It feels alive with restless spirits. The air inside is thick with a palpable presence that makes the hair on the back of the neck stand up and sends chills down the spine. One of the most commonly reported phenomena is the sound of gurney wheels rolling down empty corridors, an eerie reminder of the hospital's grim daily routine. Visitors have heard the faint clatter of wheels approaching, only to find no one there. At times, the echoes seem to come from the body chute area, as if the dead are being transported once more. The sanatorium's long hallways and numerous patient rooms are also the stage for unexplained footsteps and whispers. Many visitors have felt the sensation of being followed or watched as they wander the corridors. Some have experienced sudden cold spots, where the temperature drops sharply without explanation, often accompanied by a feeling of dread. Perhaps the most beloved and eerie spirit reported at Waverly Hills is that of Timmy, a young boy who is said to have lived and died in the sanatorium. According to legend, Timmy was a patient who carried a leather ball with him during his stay. Visitors have reported seeing a small, shadowy figure playing along the hallways, and some claim to have heard the soft rolling of a ball on the floor. Those who have encountered Timmy describe a presence that is both playful and sorrowful, an innocent child trapped in a place of suffering. Other apparitions are less benign. Some guests report seeing full-bodied figures dressed in old-fashioned hospital gowns drifting silently through the halls. Others have witnessed shadowy forms suddenly appearing at the end of corridors before vanishing into walls. The basement, especially near the death tunnel, is known for its oppressive atmosphere and intense paranormal activity. Those who venture there often report feelings of overwhelming sadness and an urge to leave quickly. In addition to visual and auditory phenomena, many visitors have experienced tactile encounters. Reports of being lightly touched or brushed by unseen hands are common, sometimes accompanied by a sensation of pressure on the chest. Electronic devices used during paranormal investigations often malfunction or display unusual readings in various parts of the building. The history of Waverly Hills Sanatorium is inseparable from the stories of its spirits. Thousands of patients who came seeking healing instead faced isolation, pain, and death. The suffering etched into the building's very walls seems to have left a permanent imprint. The sanatorium serves as a stark reminder of a time when tuberculosis was a terrifying and unstoppable force, and the desperate measures taken to combat it. Today, Waverly Hills has become a popular destination for ghost hunters, thrill seekers, and those fascinated by the paranormal. Guided tours, including night tours, allow visitors to experience firsthand the eerie ambience and possibly encounter the supernatural. Many come hoping to catch a glimpse of Timmy or to hear the telltale sounds of the past echoing through the darkness. Yet, for all its haunted reputation, Waverly Hills also holds a somber dignity. It is a place where countless lives were lost but not forgotten. The spirits said to roam. Its halls are often described not as malevolent entities, but as lingering souls, trapped by unresolved pain or a longing for peace. Walking through the ruins of Waverly Hills, One can almost feel the weight of history pressing down, the echoes of footsteps that once hurried to tend the sick, the whispered prayers of patients, and the silent farewells of those carried away through the body chute. It is a place where past and present intertwine, where the boundary between life and death feels thin. For those who visit, Waverly Hills Sanatorium is more than just an abandoned building. It is a chilling reminder of human fragility, the resilience of the spirit, and the haunting legacy left by a disease that touched so many lives. Whether you believe in ghosts or simply respect the history, the sanatorium's shadow stretches long, inviting the brave to listen closely and perhaps catch the soft laughter of a boy named Timmy, rolling his leather ball down the empty hallways. Rolling Hills Asylum, located in East Bethany, New York, stands as a stark and unsettling reminder of a dark chapter in America's history. Originally established as a poorhouse in the mid-1800s, the sprawling complex later evolved into an orphanage and eventually a mental institution. Through each incarnation, the facility became a place where suffering, neglect, and death accumulated. And today, it carries the weight of over 1,700 documented deaths within its crumbling walls. The asylum's architecture mirrors its grim history. From a distance, the building's peeling paint, shattered windows, and collapsing roof lines give it the appearance of a giant, rotting skeleton, once strong and alive, but now slowly succumbing to decay. Time and neglect have taken their toll, but even in its dilapidated state, the building exudes a sinister presence that unsettles every visitor. Inside, the atmosphere is thick with an oppressive energy. The halls are dark and narrow, littered with debris and echoing with silence, broken only by the occasional drip of water or scurrying of unseen rodents. Despite the emptiness, many who have ventured inside describe feeling watched, as if unseen eyes lurk just beyond the shadows. The air often grows inexplicably cold, and sudden temperature drops send shivers through those present, an eerie contrast to the heat or humidity outside. One of the asylum's most infamous spectral residents is a towering figure known only as Roy, described as a 7-foot-tall former patient. Roy's shadowy form has been seen standing silently in doorways, watching intruders with unseen eyes. Accounts of Roy's presence vary. Some say he's a guardian spirit, while others describe him as menacing, his mere presence enough to send chills down the spine. Photographs taken inside the asylum have captured fleeting, indistinct shadows that some believe are manifestations of Roy. The spirits that haunt Rolling Hills are not limited to Roy. Visitors and paranormal investigators alike have reported hearing disembodied voices, calling out from empty rooms, whispers of names, plaintive cries, and sometimes guttural screams that seem to echo through the corridors. These sounds often come without warning, vanishing as suddenly as they appear, leaving listeners questioning what they just heard. Several investigators have claimed to experience being shoved or touched by invisible, hands-unseen forces that remind them they are not alone. These encounters are often accompanied by feelings of dread and panic, prompting many to flee the premises before completing their investigations. Electrical devices malfunction frequently. Cameras and audio recorders stop working or produce distorted readings, as if the building resists being documented. The asylum's past sheds light on the source of its hauntings. Those who resided within its walls were often forgotten by the outside world, suffering from illnesses and conditions poorly understood at the time. Harsh methods were employed to control and treat the mentally ill, including restraint, isolation. Many patients died alone and unloved, their final moments marked by fear and confusion. The souls of these forgotten individuals are believed to have remained trapped, their pain and anguish saturating the very fabric of the asylum. Each peeling wall and broken window seems to hold a story of suffering, and the overall feeling inside the building is one of profound sorrow. The asylum's grounds are equally unsettling. Overgrown weeds choke the once maintained gardens, and rusting fences creak in the wind. The distant sound of children's laughter, reportedly heard by some visitors, despite no children having lived there for decades, adds an unnerving layer to the experience. Whether these are echoes from the past or tricks of the mind, They contribute to Rolling Hill's reputation as one of the most haunted locations in New York. Rolling Hills Asylum is not just a site of historical tragedy, but also a place of fascination for ghost hunters and thrill seekers. Numerous paranormal investigations have been conducted there, some yielding compelling evidence of the supernatural. EVP, electronic voice phenomenon, recordings often capture voices that cannot be explained, and thermal imaging devices have detected cold spots and shadowy figures moving through the darkened halls. Despite its notoriety, the asylum remains largely abandoned and off-limits to the public, primarily due to safety concerns from its dilapidated condition. Trespassers drawn by its haunted reputation sometimes enter the grounds, sharing stories and evidence online that fueled the asylum's legend. Rolling Hills Asylum stands as a grim reminder of a time when society failed some of its most vulnerable members. Its haunted halls echo with the cries and whispers of those who endured pain, neglect, and isolation. For those brave enough to step inside, the asylum offers a chilling encounter with the past, a place where the living are met by the restless dead, and where the building itself seems to decay alongside the fading memories of the souls it once held captive. In the end, Rolling Hills Asylum is more than just an abandoned institution. It is a monument to forgotten lives and untold suffering. Its shadows stretch long, watching over the empty corridors, waiting for the next visitor to hear its whispers and perhaps glimpse the towering figure of Roy, standing silently in the darkness. Penhurst State School and Hospital in Spring City, Pennsylvania, was originally established in 1908 with the intention of providing care and shelter for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Designed as a modern facility to offer safety, education, and medical treatment, Penhurst was initially hailed as a progressive institution. Yet, behind its grand brick walls and sprawling grounds, a far darker reality took hold over the decades, of reality marked by neglect, abuse, and immense suffering. At its peak, Penhurst housed thousands of residents, many of whom were placed there by families with no other options. Overcrowding quickly became a critical problem, with the institution swelling far beyond its original capacity. Staff shortages and insufficient funding contributed to deteriorating conditions. Patients were often confined in overcrowded wards, denied basic necessities. The institution's dark history includes reports of physical and psychological abuse, experimental medical procedures, and isolation tactics meant to control the population. Punishments were cruel and arbitrary, ranging from extended periods in isolation cells to restraint devices that left residents chained and immobilized for hours or days at a time. The emotional toll was immense, and many residents died from neglect, malnutrition, or untreated illnesses. As years passed, the neglect worsened, and Penhurst became infamous for its deplorable conditions. Families and advocacy groups eventually brought lawsuits against the institution, leading to increased public awareness and eventual closure in 1987. But while the doors were shut, the echoes of the pain endured within have lingered in the abandoned buildings. Today, Penhurst's sprawling campus sits empty and decaying, a crumbling relic of a tragic past. The buildings once full of life and activity are now overtaken by peeling paint, broken windows, and creeping vines. The oppressive atmosphere is palpable, and many who visit report an overwhelming feeling of despair that seems to seep from the very walls. Visitors to Penhurst often describe hearing chilling sounds that defy explanation. Echoes of screams and anguished moans seem to drift down long, empty corridors, carrying the weight of decades-old torment. Some hear the rattling of chain spur, perhaps remnants of the restraint devices used so cruelly in years past. These sounds, subtle but persistent, unsettle even the most skeptical guests. One of the most haunting phenomena reported is the sighting of shadowy figures, often described as children seen darting along the hallways or playing just out of clear view. These fleeting apparitions sometimes disappear when approached, leaving only a cold spot or an eerie silence behind. Many speculate these are the restless spirits of the countless young residents who suffered and died within the institution's walls. Physical encounters have also been reported. Visitors tell of feeling sudden cold grips on their arms or shoulders, as if an unseen hand reaches out to make contact. Some have experienced nausea, dizziness, or overwhelming feelings of sadness and despair while inside. The energy within Pinehurst is thick with sorrow and loss, a testament to the countless lives marked by suffering. Paranormal investigators drawn to Pinehurst have captured chilling evidence. EVP sessions frequently reveal faint voices calling for help, crying out names, or whispering warnings. Some have recorded unexplained footsteps pacing the empty halls, or disembodied laughter that turns to silence when followed. Thermal imaging has detected sudden temperature drops, while video footage has shown shadowy figures moving across rooms that appear empty to the naked eye. The decay of the buildings themselves amplifies the asylum's sinister reputation. Rusted beds and broken furniture scatter floors once occupied by residents. The skeletal frames of old medical equipment stand as grim reminders of the experimental treatments inflicted. Graffiti and vandalism have added layers of modern desolation, but they cannot erase the deep-rooted anguish embedded in the bricks and mortar. Pinehurst is more than just a haunted location. It is a solemn monument to a dark chapter in American history. When vulnerable individuals were mistreated and forgotten, the institution's haunting presence serves as a reminder of the importance of compassion, advocacy, and the ongoing fight for the rights and dignity of people with disabilities. For those who venture into the abandoned halls of Pinehurst, the experience is unforgettable. The weight of history presses down, and the line between past and present blurs. As visitors walk through the ruins, they may hear the distant echoes of children, as laughter mingling with cries of pain, a chilling symphony that tells the story of Pinehurst's troubled past. Some leave with stories of inexplicable phenomena. Others simply carry a profound respect for the souls who endured so much within those walls. Regardless of belief, the atmosphere at Pinehurst remains charged with the memories of suffering and the undeniable presence of those who never truly left. In the end, Pinehurst State School and Hospital stands as a haunting reminder. Some places bear the scars of history not only in their physical decay, but in the lingering echoes of pain and sorrow, and to never forget the lessons carved into its walls by the souls who once called it home. The Queen Mary, a majestic ocean liner docked in Long Beach, California, is a ship steeped in history, luxury, and legend. Launched in 1934, she was once the pinnacle of maritime engineering and elegance, ferrying passengers across the Atlantic Ocean with unmatched grandeur. Over decades of service, the Queen Mary witnessed the highs and lows of the 20th century wartime duty, celebrity voyages, and quiet crossings. Yet beneath her polished decks and polished brass railings lies a darker legacy that has made her one of the most haunted ships in the world. Though not entirely abandoned, much of the Queen Mary now sits unused or closed off to the public. The vast vessel has been transformed into a hotel and museum, but numerous areas remain off-limits, locked behind rusted doors and shuttered portholes. These closed sections carry the weight of countless tragedies, accidents, injuries, and wartime casualties that occurred over the ship's long and storied career. During World War II, the Queen Mary was transformed from a luxury liner into a troop ship, ferrying thousands of soldiers across dangerous waters. The ship's halls, once filled with laughter and elegance, were replaced by the tense footsteps of young men heading into battle. Amid the chaos, dozens of crew members and passengers lost their lives in accidents and incidents, men and women who never left the ship, their stories etched into its very timbers. Today, many visitors and staff claim that the spirits of those lost still linger aboard the Queen Mary. One of the most famous ghostly figures is that of a little girl, often seen near the ship's swimming pool. Dressed in a white dress, she is said to appear suddenly, sometimes splashing in the water or playing by the edge. Visitors who have encountered her describe a feeling of innocence mixed with sadness. Some hear her laughter echoing faintly, while others have witnessed small wet footprints appearing on the deck, only to vanish moments later. The engine room, deep within the ship's bowels, is another hotspot for paranormal activity. Phantom footsteps echo through the cavernous chambers where massive turbines once hummed. Crew members and tour guides alike have reported hearing the unmistakable sound of someone walking or running, even when the area is completely empty. Some believe these footsteps belong to former engineers and workers who perished on board during various mishaps. Empty cabins also play host to unexplained phenomena. Guests staying in certain rooms have reported strange knocking sounds coming from the walls, doors opening and closing on their own, and cold drafts that seem to move with intention. One infamous cabin, often referred to as the haunted stateroom, has seen numerous reports of apparitions appearing in mirrors, fleeting shadows crossing hallways, and furniture inexplicably shifting positions. The ship's corridors, with their polished wood paneling and Art Deco details, carry an uncanny feeling of being caught between eras. Time seems to ripple, and some visitors feel as though they are walking alongside the ship's past occupants. The Queen Mary functions as a floating time capsule, except the past here doesn't rest quietly. It watches, it listens, and sometimes it reaches out. Several paranormal investigations have taken place aboard the Queen Mary, capturing compelling evidence of the supernatural. Electronic voice phenomena, EVP recordings, frequently reveal voices calling out names or uttering cryptic phrases. Thermal imaging devices have detected sudden cold spots and shadowy figures that defy logical explanation. Cameras have caught orbs of light drifting through hallways and stairwells, often hovering near areas known for tragic events. The ship's tragic history only deepens the sense of haunting. From passengers lost overboard during storms to crew members who fell to their deaths while performing maintenance, the Queen Mary is a vessel marked by sorrow and sudden endings. Wartime accidents, such as collisions and fires, added to the toll. These stories, passed down over generations, fuel the eerie atmosphere that permeates the ship today. One notable tale involves a crewman who died after falling down an elevator shaft. Visitors near the area have reported feeling an icy breath or sudden chills, as if the crewman's presence lingers, unable to move on. Similarly, the ship's hospital and morgue, long abandoned, are often cited as locations where paranormal activity intensifies, with some claiming to see shadowy figures dressed in period medical attire. The Queen Mary's reputation as a haunted vessel has made it a popular destination for ghost tours and overnight stays. Guests seeking a thrill sign up for guided tours that explore the ship's most haunted areas, hoping to catch a glimpse of its spectral residents. Many recount spine-tingling experiences, unexplained noises, fleeting apparitions, and an overwhelming feeling of being watched. But the ship is not merely a collection of ghost stories. It is a living monument to the people who once called her home, even briefly. The spirits believed to roam the Queen Mary are often described as remnants of the ship's rich history, souls caught between past and present, bound to the vessel by tragedy or unfinished business. For all its elegance and grandeur, the Queen Mary also serves as a somber reminder of mortality and the fragility of life, especially amid the vast, unforgiving ocean. Her decks tell stories of joy and sorrow, adventure and loss. The ghosts that haunt her remind us that beneath the polished veneer of history lie countless untold tales of human struggle and endurance. Walking aboard the Queen Mary today is an experience like no other. The grand staircases, ornate lounges, and quiet cabins all hold secrets, waiting patiently for the curious to uncover them. The ship's ghostly legends invite us to peer beyond the surface, to listen to the whispers in the corridors, and feel the unseen presence that has made the Queen Mary much more than a relic of the past. In this floating palace of history and mystery, the past refuses to be silent. It lives on in the flicker of a shadow, the echo of a child's laughter, and the soft creak of footsteps on an empty deck. The Queen Mary remains a vessel not just of steel and wood, but of stories and spirits, drifting forever between the waves of time. Bannack Ghost Town, in Montana, stands as a haunting reminder of America's wild frontier days. A once thriving gold rush settlement, now frozen in time and steeped in eerie legends. Founded in 1862 after the discovery of gold in Grasshopper Creek, Bannack rapidly grew into a bustling town filled with miners, merchants, and families hoping to strike it rich. At its peak, the town boasted a population of around 1,000 residents, complete with saloons, general stores, a courthouse, and boarding houses. Yet, as quickly as it rose, Bannack declined once the gold veins began to dry up, leaving behind empty streets and abandoned buildings that now whisper stories of a bygone errand, restless spirits that refuse to leave. Walking through Bannack today, visitors feel as if they've stepped back into the 19th century. Weathered wooden structures, many preserved by the Montana Historical Society, line dirt streets, their creaking signs swaying in the wind. The silence is profound, broken only by the whistle of the wind as it snakes through empty windows and rattles loose shutters. It's a place where history feels tangible, and yet there's something else. An otherworldly presence lingers, as if the town's past inhabitants still walk the streets they once called home. Local legends speak of ghostly figures that peer from saloon windows after dark. Some visitors claim to have seen shadowy men in old miner hats watching silently before disappearing into the night. Phantom horses and riders are said to gallop along the outskirts, their hoofbeats echoing eerily across the valley. These spectral sightings are not mere folklore, but recurring experiences shared by both locals and visitors alike, fueling Bannack's reputation as one of Montana's most haunted places. Among the many spirits said to haunt Bannack, the most famous is Dorothy Dunn, young girl who tragically drowned in Grasshopper Creek in the late 1800s. Dorothy's story has become a cornerstone of the town's ghost lore. It's said she was playing near the creek when she slipped and was swept away by the cold, rushing waters. Ever since, witnesses have reported hearing her soft giggles echoing along the creek's banks and catching glimpses of a little girl in a blue dress darting between the old buildings. Visitors to Bannack sometimes feel an inexplicable chill near Grasshopper Creek, followed by the faint sound of laughter that fades into the wind. Several have reported seeing Dorothy's apparition playing hide and seek near the remnants of the boarding house or running alongside the creek's edge before vanishing suddenly. Some even say that when they call out to her, she responds with a gentle, childlike giggle, though no one is ever there to be seen. But Bannack's ghosts are not limited to Dorothy. The old saloons, with their worn bar tops and creaking floorboards, seem especially alive after dark. Many have heard the clinking of glasses and muffled conversations drifting through empty rooms. Some claim that the scent of tobacco, smoke, and whiskey lingers in the air, as if patrons from over a century ago have returned for one last round. Footsteps, whispers, and sudden cold spots are frequently reported, giving the feeling that the past is not gone but merely waiting. The old courthouse, where justice was once swiftly dealt, carries its own chilling tales. Locals speak of shadowy figures hanging motionless near the former site, and some visitors have experienced an overwhelming sense of dread while standing there. The courthouse basement, used as a jail, is said to echo with the rattling of chains and the desperate cries of prisoners awaiting their fate. Despite its desolation, Bannack is far from lifeless. The town's spirit, both literal and figurative, continues to captivate those who wander its streets. Some say that the buildings themselves breathe with residual energy, their walls steeped in memories of laughter, sorrow, greed, and hardship. The place feels like a snapshot of history preserved in amber, yet haunted by the souls of those who never truly left. Photographers and paranormal investigators are drawn to Bannack by its potent combination of history and supernatural activity. Many return with chilling photographs of unexplained orbs, misty figures, and shadowy shapes captured near the creek or within the old structures. EVP recordings have picked up faint voices, whispers, and the unmistakable sound of children playing in areas long abandoned. Even in daylight, the town's atmosphere is charged. Visitors often describe an eerie stillness that contrasts sharply with the lively history the town once had. The sense of isolation, combined with the overwhelming presence of unseen watchers, creates an experience that lingers long after one leaves Bannack's dusty roads. The preservation efforts have ensured that Bannack remains a window into Montana's past, but they have also preserved its ghosts both metaphorically and literally. This ghost town is more than a collection of buildings. It's a living memorial to the hopes, dreams, and tragedies of the people who once called it home. As night falls, Bannock's ghosts seem to awaken. The flicker of lantern light, the distant gallop of phantom horses, and the laughter of a little girl in a blue dress remind all who visit that time here is fluid, and the past never truly fades. Bannock Ghost Town is a place where history and hauntings intertwine, a hauntingly beautiful testament to the restless spirits that roam its weathered streets and the enduring legacy of America's Gold Rush era. The Villisca Axe Murder House in Villisca, Iowa, stands as one of America's most chilling, unsolved crime scenes. Small, unassuming home forever stained by a brutal and mysterious tragedy. In the early morning hours of June 10, 1912, 8 people were found brutally murdered inside. Josiah and Sarah Moore, their 4 children, and 2 young visiting girls. The horrific crime shocked the quiet town and left a scar that has never fully healed. The Moore family had lived in the house at 508 East 2nd Street, where Josiah worked as a local lumber mill owner, and the family was known as well-respected members of the community. But on that fateful night, an unknown assailant entered the house and took the lives of everyone inside with an axe, leaving the victims bludgeoned to death in their beds. The crime scene was gruesome. The killer left no clues, and the mystery has remained unsolved for over a century. Since the murders, the Villisca Axe Murder House has drawn paranormal investigators, thrill-seekers, and curious visitors from all over. Many who enter the home report experiencing strange and unsettling phenomena, sounds and sensations that hint at the lingering presence of the victims and perhaps the killer. The house is said to hold the weight of sorrow, confusion, and unresolved anguish. Visitors often hear the haunting voices of children echoing through the empty rooms, as if the young victims are still playing or calling out for their parents. Footsteps, sometimes soft and hesitant, sometimes heavy and purposeful, are frequently reported. Doors open and close by themselves, and the atmosphere can shift suddenly from stillness to charged energy without warning. One of the most chilling experiences is the oppressive heaviness felt in certain rooms, particularly the bedrooms where the murders took place. Many describe the air as thick and mournful, pressing down on the chest like an invisible weight. This sensation can be overwhelming, leading some guests to leave before the night is over. Overnight stays in the house have become infamous for intense paranormal activity, especially around 2 a.m., the approximate time of the murders. During this hour, lights flicker, objects move without explanation, and unexplained noises fill the air. Some guests have reported feeling sudden cold spots, hearing whispered voices, or even seeing shadowy figures standing silently in corners or at the foot of beds. Paranormal investigators have captured compelling evidence inside the house, including electronic voice phenomena, EVP recordings of children's laughter, cries, and whispered pleas. Cameras sometimes capture orbs or unexplained flashes of light, and motion sensors have triggered alarms despite no physical presence being detected. Thermal imaging has revealed cold spots and dark shapes where no one should be. The house itself remains preserved, much as it was after the murders, with the furniture and belongings of the Moore family carefully maintained to reflect the time period. This preservation adds to the unsettling feeling that the family never left, that their spirits remain bound to the site of their violent end. Visitors walking the creaking floors often feel the weight of history pressing in, as if the walls themselves hold the memories of that terrible night. The mystery of the killings has never been solved, though several suspects were investigated, including a traveling minister, a disgruntled employee, and a man with a violent past. None were ever convicted, and the case remains officially open. Some believe the killer's spirit lingers as well, a dark presence that fuels the house's restless energy and heightens the sense of fear experienced by those who stay. Beyond the paranormal, the Villisca Axe Murder House is a grim reminder of the fragility of life and the shadow that sudden violence can cast over a community. The home, once a place of warmth and family, was transformed into a crime scene overnight, and its legacy has rippled through generations. It stands as a testament to the innocent lives lost and the pain left behind. The house continues to draw those who are fascinated by true crime and the supernatural. Guided tours offer visitors a glimpse into the lives of the Moors and their tragic fate, while overnight experiences provide a chance to encounter the unexplained firsthand. Many who visit leave with stories of eerie sensations, unexplained noises, and fleeting glimpses of figures that vanish when approached. Despite the fear and sorrow, the house also serves as a place of remembrance and respect for the victims. The silence between the strange noises reminds visitors of the lives interrupted and the families forever changed. The Villisca Axe Murder House is not just a site of terror, but a monument to history, a place where the past refuses to be forgotten. As the sun sets over Villisca, the house settles into a tense quiet, its shadows lengthening across the porch and lawn. Inside, the echoes of that tragic night linger, voices of children, footsteps of a restless spirit, and the silent mourning of a community bound forever to the mystery of 508 East 2nd Street. For those who dare to enter, the Villisca Axe Murder House offers a chilling journey into a dark chapter of American history, where the line between the living and the dead remains hauntingly thin. Bodie Ghost Town in California stands as a haunting testament to the wild and often lawless days of America's gold rush era. Founded in 1859, following the discovery of gold in the nearby hills, Bodie rapidly transformed from a rough mining camp into a bustling town teeming with prospectors, merchants, saloon keepers, and gamblers. At its peak in the late 1800s, Bodie was home to nearly 10,000 residents and was notorious for its rowdy atmosphere, earning a reputation as one of the most violent and lawless settlements in the West. The town was rife with saloons, brothels, and gambling halls where gunfights and brawls were common occurrences. The residents lived by their own rules, often settling disputes with fists or firearms rather than the law. Law enforcement was minimal and sometimes complicit. This rough existence contributed to Bodie's lasting image as a place where danger and opportunity walked hand in hand. As the gold veins began to run dry, Bodie's fortune declined sharply. Mining operations slowed and eventually ceased, prompting most residents to leave in search of better prospects. By the mid-20th century, Bodie was largely abandoned, its wooden buildings left to weather the harsh elements. Yet, despite the passage of time and nature's attempts to reclaim it, the town has remained remarkably preserved, offering visitors a rare glimpse into a bygone era. Today, Bodie is designated as a California State Historic Park, carefully maintained to preserve its ghost town atmosphere. Visitors walk along dirt streets lined with creaking wooden structures, deserted homes, old saloons, a schoolhouse, and a church that stands as a silent witness to the town's turbulent past. The wooden buildings, weather-beaten and leaning, groan and creak as the wind sweeps through, creating an eerie soundtrack that feels almost alive. It's as if the town itself is whispering warnings to those who dare to wander its empty streets. But Bodie's ghosts are more than just memories preserved in wood and stone. Local legends speak of frequent ghost sightings, shadowy figures glimpsed in windows, fleeting shapes darting between buildings, and unexplained noises that echo through the night. Many visitors report feeling watched or followed, an unsettling sensation that they are not truly alone. One of the most enduring aspects of Bodie's lore is the local curse tied to the town's restless spirits. According to tradition, anyone who takes something from Bodie, a rock, a nail, or any small souvenir will suffer a streak of bad luck until the item is returned. This curse is taken seriously by both locals and visitors. Over the years, park rangers have received numerous apology packages from people who, regretting their actions, have sent back items stolen from the town, hoping to lift the misfortune believed to follow them. These packages often contain notes expressing remorse and recounting strange accidents, illnesses, or personal misfortunes that befell the senders after removing objects from Bodie. The curse serves as a powerful reminder of the town's unsettled past and the respect it demands from those who visit. Beyond curses and ghost stories, Bodie offers a palpable sense of history mixed with the supernatural. The town's decline was not just economic, but deeply personal, as families and communities were uprooted and left behind. The buildings, worn and fragile, hold the stories of those who lived hard, often dangerous lives, miners digging deep for their fortune, families struggling to survive, and outlaws carving their own place in the chaos. Visitors often describe an almost spiritual experience walking through Bodie's streets. The atmosphere can shift suddenly from the bright California sun casting sharp shadows to eerie, mist-filled mornings where visibility drops and the town seems to come alive in a different way. The winds moan through the buildings becomes a ghostly chorus, carrying the echoes of laughter, cries, and gunshots from over a century ago. Photographers and paranormal enthusiasts are drawn to Bodie for its haunting beauty and the possibility of capturing the unexplained. Many have returned with images showing mysterious orbs of light, shadowy figures lurking near abandoned buildings, and faint silhouettes appearing in windows. EVP, electronic voice phenomena. Recordings have picked up unexplained voices and sounds, lending credibility to the town's haunted reputation. Despite its eerie reputation, Bodie remains a place of profound historical significance and solemn remembrance. The ghosts of Bodie, whether real or imagined, remind us of the harsh realities of frontier life, the risks people took chasing dreams of wealth, and the sometimes violent end those dreams met. The town stands frozen in time, a stark contrast to the bustling cities that grew elsewhere. Its deserted streets invite visitors to reflect on the passage of time, the impermanence of fortune, and the unseen forces that may linger where tragedy and turmoil once reigned. At night, the creaking buildings and the desert wind combine to create an atmosphere thick with tension and history. The whispers of Bodie's past seem to reach out, inviting visitors to listen closely and to respect the place and its stories. Those who come seeking a glimpse of the supernatural are often met with a town that refuses to be forgotten, a place where every weathered plank and broken window tells a tale of struggle and endurance, and where the ghosts of Bodie still roam, guarding their home with silent vigilance. Bodie Ghost Town is not just a relic of the past, it is a living memory, a haunting echo of the wild American West and the restless spirits who continue to walk its dusty streets. The St. Augustine Lighthouse in St. Augustine, Florida, stands tall as a beacon of maritime history and coastal navigation, its white tower reaching skyward against the Atlantic backdrop, while the lighthouse itself is well maintained and continues to guide ships safely through treacherous waters. The surrounding keepers' quarters and older structures are abandoned, weather-beaten, and steeped in an unsettling atmosphere that has long captivated visitors and paranormal enthusiasts alike. Construction of the current lighthouse began in the late 1800s, replacing earlier towers that had been damaged or destroyed by storms and hurricanes. But the building process was not without tragedy. Local lore tells of 3 young girls who drowned during the construction phase, their lives cut short in the unforgiving coastal environment. Since then, many visitors and staff have reported encounters with the spirits of these girls, who seem to linger near the stairs and grounds, their presence felt but elusive. The abandoned keepers' quarters, once bustling with lighthouse keepers and their families, now stand silent and dilapidated. Inside these structures, visitors often experience an eerie stillness that feels charged with unseen energy. The air is thick with stories of the past, of lives lived in isolation, of tireless vigilance against storms, and of the dangers faced by those who kept the light burning through countless nights. One of the most commonly reported phenomena occurs near the base of the lighthouse stairs, where visitors claim to see the faint apparitions of 3 young girls playing, darting between shadows or peeking out from behind pillars. The children's laughter, soft and sweet, sometimes drifts through the air, only to abruptly stop, leaving an unnerving silence in its wake. Inside the tower itself, the spiral staircase, a narrow, twisting path leading to the light at the top, holds its own share of mystery. People ascending or descending the stairs have reported hearing heavy footsteps echoing in the empty space above or below them. These footsteps are distinct and deliberate, yet when they turn around to look, no one is there. This disembodied pacing can create a profound sense of being followed or watched. Shadowy figures have been spotted on multiple occasions within the tower. These fleeting shapes often appear at the edges of vision, vanishing when looked at directly. Some visitors describe them as tall, dark silhouettes moving silently through the stairwell or lingering near the observation deck. The presence of these figures adds to the lighthouse's reputation as a site of restless spirits. The lighthouse keepers of the 19th and early 20th centuries lived demanding lives, charged with the constant task of maintaining the light and ensuring the safety of mariners. Isolation and the constant threat of storms weighed heavily on them, and many suffered from loneliness and hardship. Some believe that the emotional residue of their lives, along with the tragic deaths during construction, has contributed to the paranormal activity experienced in the area. Beyond the stairs and the apparitions, other unexplained phenomena have been reported throughout the lighthouse grounds. Visitors have described sudden drops in temperature, electrical disturbances, and the sensation of being touched by unseen hands. Some have heard faint whispers or felt invisible presences brushing past them in narrow corridors or abandoned rooms. Paranormal investigations at the St. Augustine Lighthouse have yielded intriguing evidence. Electronic voice phenomena, EVP recordings, have captured faint voices, sometimes calling out for help or softly giggling. Cameras have captured orbs of light floating through the air, and infrared footage has recorded shadowy figures moving along the perimeter of the property. These findings have deepened the belief that the lighthouse is one of Florida's most haunted historic sites. The stories of the 3 drowned girls continue to resonate with those who visit. Their innocent laughter, heard amidst the creaks and groans of the old structures, reminds visitors that even in death, these young spirits are tied to the place where their lives ended so tragically. Many who have stayed overnight in the keeper's quarters speak of feeling a comforting presence nearby, as though the children are watching over the site. The St. Augustine Lighthouse offers more than just ghost stories. It is a testament to resilience, history, and the human connection to the sea. The light that has guided countless ships safely to shore stands as a symbol of hope and safety, even as the shadows of the past linger in the abandoned corners and stairwells. Tourists and paranormal enthusiasts alike are drawn to the lighthouse for its blend of history and mystery. Guided tours explore both the well-maintained tower and the surrounding ruins, inviting visitors to experience the site's unique atmosphere. Special nighttime tours often focus on the paranormal activity, providing a spine-tingling experience filled with stories of apparitions, mysterious noises, and unexplained sensations. Despite the eerie occurrences, the lighthouse and its grounds are cherished landmarks in St. Augustine. They serve as a bridge between past and present, a place where history lives on, not only in books and photographs, but in the very air and stones of the site. The spirits believed to roam the grounds are part of that history, their stories intertwined with the town's maritime heritage. The soundscape of the lighthouse at night is a haunting symphony. The wind whistles through broken windows and creaking beams, mingling with the faint echoes of children's laughter and the soft footfalls on the spiral stairs. These sounds, both natural and supernatural, create an atmosphere charged with emotion and mystery. Many who visit leave with a sense of awe and respect for the place, acknowledging the delicate balance between light and darkness, history and the unknown. The St. Augustine Lighthouse reminds us that some places are more than physical structures. They are vessels of memory and spirit, where the past refuses to be forgotten and continues to reach out to the living. In the end, the lighthouse stands as a beacon in more ways than one. It is a guiding light for mariners, a historical monument, and a home to restless souls whose presence can still be felt in the wind, the shadows, and the laughter of children long gone but never truly departed. Old Cahaba, Alabama's first state capital, stands today as a haunting reminder of a once thriving river town lost to time, nature, and tragedy. Founded in 1819 at the confluence of the Alabama and Cahaba rivers, Cahaba was intended to be a bustling hub of commerce and government. But despite its promising beginnings, a series of devastating floods, outbreaks of disease, and economic decline doomed the town to abandonment. Now, only ruins remain. Brick chimneys rise like gravestones against the skyline. Dirt roads are swallowed by thick weeds, and an eerie silence blankets the land. Walking through the remains of Cahoba, visitors are immediately struck by the desolation and the ghostly beauty of the crumbling structures. Once grand homes and public buildings now lie in ruins, their bricks scattered and walls toppled. The river that once brought prosperity now flows silently past the ruins, indifferent to the lives and dreams that were washed away. It is a place frozen in time. Locals and visitors alike tell stories of strange and unsettling occurrences that suggest Cahoba is far from truly abandoned. One of the most frequently reported phenomena are ghostly lantern lights that bob through the night. These faint, flickering glows drift slowly among the ruins, appearing and disappearing like will-o'-the-wisps. Many believe these lights are the spirits of Confederate soldiers who once camped and fought nearby during the Civil War. Their souls unable to find peace amid the ruins of the town they once protected. The presence of these spectral soldiers is often accompanied by distant sounds, the clatter of boots on wooden planks, the muffled voices of soldiers exchanging orders, and the low murmur of forgotten conversations. Some visitors have reported hearing the distant boom of cannon fire echoing through the trees on quiet nights, as if the war itself is replaying somewhere beyond the veil. But the spirits of Cahoba are not limited to soldiers. The former townsfolk, farmers, merchants, women, and children who once walked its streets are said to remain as well. Ghostly figures in period clothing have been seen wandering the overgrown paths, their faces blurred and indistinct. Some appear near the ruins of homes, pausing as if searching for something lost, before fading back into the shadows. The town's old cemetery, located on a rise overlooking the river, is considered the most active area for paranormal activity. Here, weathered headstones lean precariously and iron fences twist in rusted curls. Visitors to the cemetery have reported sudden drops in temperature and an overwhelming feeling of being watched. The most common and unnerving experience is the sensation of cold. Invisible hands brushing against skin like touches that cause a shiver to run down the spine. Some have heard whispered voices carried on the breeze, soft and unintelligible but unmistakably human. At times, mournful sobbing or faint laughter drifts across the graves, creating an unsettling blend of sorrow and joy. On particularly still nights, the cries of children are said to echo from the surrounding woods, a haunting reminder of lives once full of promise. Cahoba's tragic history lends weight to these hauntings. The town was plagued by repeated floods, especially in the 1830s and 1850s. Which damaged infrastructure and drove many residents away. Cholera and yellow fever outbreaks further decimated the population. By the time the Civil War ended, Cahoba's importance had waned, and the state capital was moved to Montgomery. The remaining residents gradually left, leaving behind empty buildings and broken dreams. The natural reclamation of the town has only enhanced its ghostly aura. Thick weeds and tangled vines choke the dirt roads, while towering trees grow through collapsed roofs and cracked walls. The sun filters through skeletal windows, casting long, eerie shadows. The silence is broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves, the calls of nightbirds, or the distant rush of the river. Paranormal investigators drawn to Cahoba often set up equipment near the cemetery or among the ruins, hoping to capture evidence of the supernatural. AVP sessions have yielded faint voices and unexplained sounds. Cameras have caught orbs and shadow figures, while motion detectors frequently register movement when no living creature is present. These findings reinforce the belief that Cahoba is not merely a ghost town in name, but a place where the veil between worlds is thin. Despite her, perhaps because of its haunted reputation, Cahoba attracts visitors interested in history, ghost stories, and the quiet beauty of decay. Walking its forgotten streets offers a haunting experience of nature reclaiming human endeavor, of lives interrupted and history preserved in silence. For many, the ghostly encounters add an extra layer of mystery and poignancy to the visit. Local legends caution against disrespecting the town's ruins and cemetery, reminding visitors that many souls remain restless. The stories of cold touches, whispered voices, and ghostly lights serve as both warnings and invitations to tread carefully, to remember, and to honor those who once called Cahoba home. Old Cahoba stands as a silent witness to the passage of time and the enduring presence of the past. The ruins and the restless spirits remind us that some places never truly die. They simply wait, hidden beneath layers of earth and memory, until someone listens to their stories once more. At dusk, as the fading light casts long shadows across the ruins and the river glistens quietly below, the lantern lights begin to dance. The wind carries the distant echoes of footsteps and voices, and the cold hands reach out, brushing gently against the living. In Cahoba, history is alive not just in books or ruins, but in the very air, in the lingering presence of those who lived, loved, and lost here long ago. The Ellis Hotel ruins in Atlanta, Georgia, stand as a somber reminder of one of the deadliest hotel fires in American history. Originally known as the Winterkoff Hotel, the building was constructed in 1913 and quickly gained a reputation as one of the most modern and luxurious hotels of its time. Rising 15 stories high, it was billed as absolutely fireproof, a bold claim that tragically proved false on the night of December 7, 1946. That night, a fire broke out in the Winterkoff Hotel, quickly spreading through the wooden stairwells and combustible materials. The blaze engulfed the building with terrifying speed, trapping many guests and employees inside. With the absence of sprinklers and only a single stairwell serving as an escape route, panic ensued. Tragically, 119 people lost their lives, many jumping or falling from the upper floors in desperate attempts to escape the flames. The disaster shocked the nation and led to sweeping changes in fire safety regulations. Though the Winterkoff Hotel was rebuilt and reopened decades later as the Ellis Hotel, parts of the original structure remain abandoned, sealed off from public access. These ruins carry a heavy weight of sorrow and memory. Visitors and workers who venture near these neglected sections often report unsettling experiences, as if the tragedy that unfolded so many years ago refuses to rest. One of the most commonly reported sensations near the Ellis Hotel ruins is the smell of smoke, thick, acrid, and unmistakable despite there being no fire or source of smoke in the vicinity. This phantom scent is often accompanied by the sounds of panicked voices echoing faintly through the empty hallways. Some describe hearing cries for help, frantic footsteps, and a desperate banging on doors, as if guests trapped in the fire are replaying their final moments. The upper floors of the abandoned sections, where many victims were trapped, are especially active with paranormal activity. Witnesses have seen ghostly faces pressed against shattered windows, eyes wide with fear and despair. These spectral images appear and vanish without warning, leaving onlookers shaken. Some have reported the chilling sight of figures standing silently in the corridors, dressed in period clothing, frozen in time by their tragic fate. The atmosphere around the ruins is thick with a strange energy, a mix of sorrow, urgency, and unrest. Visitors speak of an overwhelming sense of being watched, or of unseen presences following their movements. The air can feel heavy and oppressive, as if the building itself is mourning the lives lost within its walls. Several paranormal investigations have taken place at the Ellis Hotel ruins, capturing compelling evidence that supports its haunted reputation. Electronic voice phenomena, EVP recordings, have picked up cries for help, whispered names, and pleas for rescue. Cameras have caught orbs of light drifting through hallways and shadowy figures appearing in empty rooms. Thermal imaging devices have detected sudden cold spots and unexplained heat signatures. The ruins serve as a stark physical reminder of the fire's deadly impact, but they also stand as a spiritual and emotional monument to those who died. The tragedy transformed the building from a symbol of modernity and luxury into a place marked by loss and remembrance. The rebirth of the hotel as the Ellis Hotel attempted to move beyond the past, yet the lingering presence of the Winterkoff fire continues to reach out. Staff and guests at the operational parts of the hotel have also reported strange experiences, lights flickering without cause, elevators moving on their own, and unexplained noises echoing through the halls. Some believe these phenomena are connected to the same restless spirits that inhabit the ruins. For many, visiting the Ellis Hotel ruins is more than a tour of abandoned architecture. It's a confrontation with history, tragedy, and the human cost behind headlines and statistics. The echoes of the past feel close and immediate, a reminder that behind every disaster are countless stories of fear, courage, and heartbreak. As night falls over the Ellis Hotel ruins, the building seems to exhale a sorrowful breath. The wind carries the distant sounds of screams and shouts. The smell of smoke lingers in the air, and shadowy figures peer from broken windows. It is a place where time fractures, where the past and present blur, and where the memory of those lost refuses to be silenced. The Ellis Hotel ruins stand as a chilling testament to human vulnerability and the enduring power of memory. They remind us that even in the heart of a bustling city like Atlanta, the ghosts of tragedy can remain closely waiting patiently for those who will listen to their stories and honor their suffering. Ashmore Estates in Illinois carries a heavy and haunting legacy as a site steeped in sorrow, suffering, and unanswered questions. Originally established in the late 19th century as a poor farmer place, intended to care for impoverished and disabled residents, it later transformed into a psychiatric facility. Over the decades, Ashmore Estates witnessed overcrowding, mistreatment, and countless patient deaths. Today, while largely abandoned, the site occasionally opens its doors for guided tours, drawing those intrigued by its dark history and the paranormal activities said to linger within its walls. Located near the small town of Ashmore, Illinois, the sprawling complex originally served as the Coles County Poor Farm when it opened in 1907. Poor farms were common across the United States in the late 1800s and early 1900s at Deckard state-run facilities meant to provide shelter and work for the indigent, mentally ill, and elderly. However, conditions at these farms were often grim, and Ashmore was no exception. Residents faced harsh treatment, inadequate medical care, and grueling labor under difficult conditions. As decades passed, Ashmore transitioned into a psychiatric facility, reflecting changing attitudes and policies toward mental health care. Unfortunately, overcrowding became a serious issue, and the hospital struggled to provide proper care or humane treatment for its patients. Reports from former staff and visitors describe a place where suffering was widespread and privacy non-existent. Whether due to illness, neglect, or the hardships endured by those confined within its walls, these grim conditions seem to have left a mark that extends beyond the physical decay of the buildings. Visitors to Ashmore Estates frequently report strange, unexplained phenomena that suggest the lingering presence of former patients and staff. One of the most commonly reported paranormal experiences is the sound of disembodied footsteps echoing through the empty hallways. These footsteps often follow visitors or seem to move with deliberate purpose, only to vanish when confronted. Voices calling out names or crying softly have also been heard in various parts of the building. Some guests report hearing whispered conversations, anguished cries, or even the faint singing of lullabies carried on cold drafts. These auditory experiences often create an unsettling atmosphere, reinforcing the sense that the past occupants still haunt the place. Perhaps the most famous apparition at Ashmore Estates is that of a little girl in a white dress, often seen near the second-floor hallway. This spectral child appears suddenly, sometimes standing silently watching, other times moving slowly along the corridor before disappearing into thin air. Witnesses describe her as having an innocent but sorrowful presence, her appearance serving as a poignant reminder of the vulnerable lives touched by the estate's troubled history. In the basement, darker and more ominous figures have been reported. Visitors speak of shadowy forms lurking in the corners or at the edge of their vision, figures so dark and shapeless that they seem less like ghosts and more like manifestations of the building's deep despair. These shadows are said to move independently and can evoke a strong sense of fear or dread in those who encounter them. Physical interactions with the environment are also common. Guests have reported objects moving on their own doors, slamming without cause, chairs sliding across floors, and light switches flicking on and off. Cold spots, where the temperature suddenly drops inexplicably, are a frequent occurrence, especially in areas known for heavy paranormal activity like the hallways and basement. Paranormal investigators who have explored Ashmore Estates often bring back compelling evidence. Electronic voice phenomena. EVP recordings have captured disembodied voices calling names, asking for help, or making unintelligible sounds. Cameras have documented unexplained orbs of light and shadowy shapes that seem to drift through walls. Thermal imaging has revealed cold areas that defy natural explanations. Despite its dilapidated state, Ashmore Estates retains an eerie beauty. The buildings once bustling with activity now stand as crumbling monuments overgrown with weeds and vines. Peeling paint, broken windows, and rusted iron gates create a visual landscape of decay and abandonment. Yet, beneath this ruin lies a tapestry of human stories of pain, resilience, and lives interrupted. The estate's grim history and paranormal activity have made it a popular destination for ghost hunters, historians, and thrill seekers. Organized tours offer a chance to walk through the empty halls, listen to first-hand accounts, and even participate in investigations. These tours often emphasize respect for the site and its former inhabitants, reminding visitors that while the estate may be haunted, it is also a place of remembrance. Ashmore Estates is a stark example of how places can hold the echoes of past suffering and how human emotions, fear, sorrow, hope can leave impressions that linger long after the physical structures crumble. The stories of those who lived and died there continue to resonate, inviting reflection on how society once treated its most vulnerable and the lasting impact of those choices. For many who visit, the experience is both chilling and sobering. The sounds of footsteps in empty corridors, the glimpse of a spectral child, or the feeling of a cold hand brushing past, are more than just ghost stories. They are connections to lives that were real, fragile, and often overlooked. As night falls over Ashmore Estates, the silence grows heavy and the shadows lengthen. The past seems to awaken, its voices and footsteps weaving through the broken halls. In these moments, the estate stands not just as an abandoned building, but as a place where memory and spirit intertwine, reminding us that history lives in whispers, shadows, and the hearts of those willing to listen. The Winchester Mystery House in San Jose, California, stands as one of the most enigmatic and bizarre architectural marvels in the United States. This sprawling mansion, built by Sarah Winchester, the widow of firearm magnate William Wirt Winchester, is more than just an elaborate Victorian home. It is a labyrinth of mystery, superstition, and ghostly legends that continue to captivate visitors from around the world. Sarah Winchester inherited a vast fortune following the deaths of her husband and infant daughter, and it is said that grief and guilt drove her to build the house as a way to appease restless spirits. According to legend, Sarah believed she was haunted by the ghosts of those killed by Winchester rifles, the very firearms manufactured by her late husband's company. To confuse and ward off these spirits, she embarked on a continuous building project that would last for 38 years, until her death in 1922. The result is a sprawling mansion covering over 24,000 square feet, with more than 160 rooms, each filled with oddities and architectural quirks. The house's design defies logic, filled with dead-end staircases that abruptly stop at ceilings, doors that open onto solid walls, windows overlooking other rooms, and hallways that twist and turn with no clear purpose. This maze-like structure is believed to have been intentionally designed to confuse any spirits that might wander the halls, preventing them from finding Sarah or causing her harm. Despite its status as a popular tourist attraction today, many parts of the Winchester Mystery House remain closed off and untouched, preserved as they were nearly a century ago. These sealed sections are said to hold some of the most intense paranormal activity, and for decades, they have been off-limits to visitors, shrouded in mystery and speculation. Visitors and staff alike have reported numerous strange occurrences throughout the mansion. One of the most common phenomena is the sound of footsteps pacing on the upper floors when no one is present. These footsteps can be heard echoing through empty hallways or directly above rooms where people are gathered, often growing louder and then fading mysteriously. The sensation of being followed or watched is frequently reported, creating an unsettling atmosphere despite the mansion's grandeur. Another frequently heard sound is the faint humming or soft singing of a woman's voice. This ethereal melody is said to drift through the corridors, sometimes calming and other times haunting, as if a restless spirit is wandering the house, trapped between worlds. Staff members working late hours often recount hearing this humming, especially near the grand staircase and the nursery, where Sarah's deceased daughter once played. The house's peculiar architectural features add to the eerie experience. Visitors might find themselves standing before a staircase that leads to a ceiling with no exit, or a door that opens to a sheer drop or a brick wall. These oddities are not the result of poor design or construction errors, but deliberate choices made under Sarah's direction, guided by spiritual advisors and mediums who encouraged her to keep building to appease the spirits. Beyond the staircases and doors, the Winchester Mystery House contains secret rooms, hidden passageways, and peculiar construction choices, such as dozens of intricately carved spiderweb motifs scattered throughout, believed to symbolize protection and entrapment of spirits. The house's many fireplaces, chimneys, and oddly angled walls contribute to the feeling that the mansion is alive, breathing with secrets and shadows. Paranormal investigators drawn to the Winchester Mystery House have captured compelling evidence supporting its haunted reputation. Electronic voice phenomena, EVP recordings, have picked up faint whispers, footsteps, and disembodied voices. Cameras often reveal unexplained orbs of light floating through the rooms, and thermal imaging detects cold spots that defy natural explanations. Visitors sometimes feel sudden drops in temperature or experience the sensation of an unseen presence brushing past them. Despite these eerie happenings, the house's atmosphere is not always menacing. Many describe a bittersweet quality, a mixture of sorrow, longing, and unresolved history that seems to cling to the walls. Sarah Winchester's tragic story, combined with the mansion's endless corridors and secret chambers, creates a uniquely immersive experience that blends history, mystery, and the supernatural. The Winchester Mystery House is more than just a haunted house. It is a monument to grief, superstition, and the human desire to control the unknown. Sarah Winchester's decades-long obsession with construction was her way of coping with loss and guilt, channeling her pain into something tangible, yet inexplicable. As night falls over the mansion, the house takes on a different character. Shadows lengthen along the winding hallways, and the creaking of old wood seems amplified in the silence. The faint hum of a woman's voice and the soft footsteps on the upper floors remind visitors that the past is never truly gone. Those who visit the Winchester Mystery House often leave with a sense of awe and unease, haunted by the house's endless mysteries and the spirits that may still roam its halls. The mansion stands as a timeless enigma, where every door, staircase, and window holds a secret hand, where the line between the living and the dead remains forever blurred. The Goldfield Hotel, located in the remote Nevada desert town of Goldfield, stands as a haunting relic of a once glorious past. Built in 1908, during the town's mining boom, the hotel was a symbol of prosperity and luxury, attracting miners, businessmen, and travelers seeking comfort and respite. However, as the mines dried up and the town's fortunes waned, the Goldfield Hotel eventually closed its doors, leaving behind a decaying structure shrouded in mystery and ghostly legends. Today, the hotel sits abandoned, its grand facade weathered by time and desert storms. Inside, peeling wallpaper hangs from cracked walls, and the floors creak under the weight of dust and neglect. Yet despite the building's physical deterioration, the Goldfield Hotel is far from lifeless. Stories of paranormal activity have circulated for decades, making it one of Nevada's most infamous haunted locations. At the center of these tales is the spirit known simply as Elizabeth. Legend has it that Elizabeth was a young woman who tragically died in room 109 of the hotel, her life cut short under mysterious or violent circumstances. Locals say that her spirit remains trapped within the walls of the room and the hotel at large, crying out in the dead of night, her sorrowful wails echoing through the empty corridors. Visitors who dare to enter the Goldfield Hotel often report hearing soft crying or faint voices coming from the direction of room 109. Some have described waking in the middle of the night to the sensation of being watched or feeling a cold presence hovering nearby. Those brave enough to explore the hotel's dark hallways sometimes catch glimpses of shadowy figures moving just beyond their field of vision, quick, elusive shapes that vanish when looked at directly. Flickering lights are another common phenomenon. Despite the hotel having no power, lights appear to glow intermittently in certain rooms and hallways, casting eerie shadows that dance along the cracked walls. The unexplainable illumination adds to the unsettling atmosphere, reinforcing the belief that restless spirits still inhabit the building. The hotel's decay seems to feed the haunting. As the structure crumbles, the sense of abandonment deepens, creating a perfect stage for supernatural activity. The creaking floorboards and rustling curtains become part of the spectral symphony, blurring the line between natural sounds and ghostly manifestations. Paranormal investigators have visited the Goldfield Hotel to document its eerie reputation. Using electronic equipment, they have captured mysterious voices, footsteps, and even unexplained temperature drops. Infrared cameras have recorded shadow-like shapes moving through rooms, while EVP, electronic voice phenomena, devices have picked up whispered names and cries for help. These findings have only fueled the hotel's notoriety and drawn thrill-seekers hoping to experience its hauntings firsthand. But the spirits at Goldfield are not always passive observers. Some visitors report feeling sudden pushes or touches from unseen hands, sensations that can startle and unsettle. Doors sometimes open or slam shut without explanation, and objects have been known to move on their own. The energy in the hotel is said to become particularly intense when outsiders intrude, suggesting that the spirits are protective of their domain and restless in the face of disruption. Room 109 remains the epicenter of paranormal activity. The door, often found mysteriously ajar, conceals a room frozen in time, snapshot of the past with its faded wallpaper, worn furnishings, and a lingering feeling of sadness. Some claim to have seen the apparition of Elizabeth herself, standing silently in the corner or sitting on the edge of the bed, her face obscured but her presence undeniable. The story of Elizabeth and the Goldfield Hotel is woven into the town's history and lore. Goldfield itself was once a booming mining town, rich with gold and silver deposits that attracted thousands of people. The hotel was a social center, a place of elegance and excitement amidst the dusty desert. But when the mines closed and the population dwindled, the town and hotel were abandoned, left to the elements and to whatever spirits lingered behind. The isolation of the desert amplifies the hotel's eerie qualities. Far from modern distractions, the silence of the night is deep and heavy, broken only by the wind sweeping across the empty streets and the occasional creak of the old buildings settling. It is in this stillness that the whispers of the past seem most alive. The Goldfield Hotel continues to fascinate historians, ghost hunters, and curious travelers. Its crumbling walls hold stories of triumph and tragedy, of lives lived hard and lost too soon. The spectral presence of Elizabeth and other unseen residents serves as a chilling reminder of the town's forgotten past. For those who visit, the experience is a mixture of awe and unease. The hotel's decaying grandeur contrasts sharply with the vivid supernatural phenomena reported by many. Walking its deserted halls, one can almost feel the weight of history pressing in, the sorrow of lost souls reaching out from the shadows. The Goldfield Hotel is a place where the past refuses to fade quietly. It stands as a testament to human ambition and loss, and to the mysteries that linger when a community disappears. The restless spirits within seem caught between worlds, their stories waiting to be heard by those willing to listen. As night falls over the Nevada desert and the stars blink coldly overhead, the Goldfield Hotel looms silently against a dark sky. Inside, the cries of Elizabeth echo faintly, the shadows move unseen, and the flickering lights cast ghostly shapes across peeling walls. It is a place where the boundary between the living and the dead grows thin, and where the secrets of a bygone era continue to haunt the present. Nestled deep within the rugged mountains of Oregon lies the abandoned Crescent Mine, a place steeped in mystery and haunted by stories that have endured long after the last miners left its tunnels. Once a bustling site of hard labor and hope for fortune, the mine's reputation has shifted over the decades from a place of industry to one of darkness and supernatural intrigue. The tales told by former miners and explorers paint a chilling portrait of a site where the boundaries between the living and the spectral blur beneath the earth. The Crescent Mine was established in the early 1900s. During Oregon's mining boom, when prospectors flocked to the region in search of gold, silver, and other precious minerals. For a time, the mine thrived, with tunnels burrowing deep into the mountain, producing valuable ore and supporting a small but vibrant mining community. However, the mine's success was short-lived, and over the years, it was gradually abandoned due to depletion of resources, dangerous conditions, and economic shifts. What remains today is a network of decaying tunnels and rusted equipment, silent and forbidding. But it is far from lifeless. Miners who once worked the Crescent Mine left behind more than just their tools and dreams. They left stories of strange occurrences and inexplicable phenomena that persist even now. Many former workers spoke of seeing strange lights flickering deep within the tunnels. These lights, often described as small orbs or glowing shapes, appeared without any obvious source. Sometimes they would drift slowly through the passageways, disappearing when approached. Miners believed these lights were more than just reflections or electrical anomalies. Some thought they were spirits or lost souls trapped underground, while others feared they were warnings of danger lurking in the shadows. Even more unsettling were the voices that seemed to echo from the darkness. Reports of faint whispers, distant calls, and even cries for help are common in the lore surrounding Crescent Mine. These disembodied sounds created an atmosphere of fear and unease, particularly among those who spent long hours underground in the isolating silence of the mine. Over the years, paranormal investigators and thrill-seekers have been drawn to Crescent Mine, hoping to uncover evidence of its haunted reputation. Thermal imaging and temperature sensors used by these teams often detect sudden drops in temperature within certain sections of the tunnels. Visitors have described these cold spots as oppressive and unnatural, causing them to shiver and feel a penetrating chill, even in otherwise stable conditions. These cold zones are often accompanied by a heavy feeling in the air, a sensation of unease that seems to press down on the chest and mind. One of the most common experiences reported by those who venture deep inside Crescent Mine is a suffocating sensation, as if the earth itself is closing in. Explorers speak of a growing sense of claustrophobia, an overwhelming pressure that constricts their breathing and heightens their anxiety. This feeling often intensifies the further they go, compelling many to retreat before reaching the mine's deepest chambers. This suffocating atmosphere has been described in a variety of ways. Some say it feels like invisible hands are gripping their bodies. Others say the walls seem to be moving inward, and some simply report an unshakable dread that seeps into their bones. This phenomenon remains unexplained, but is widely considered a core part of the mine's eerie reputation. Many visitors also recount encounters with shadowy figures seen fleetingly at the edge of their vision, dark silhouettes that disappear when looked at directly. These apparitions are often described as tall and humanoid but lacking clear features, leaving observers with a lingering feeling of being watched or followed. Despite its dangers and paranormal activity, Crescent Mine continues to attract adventurous souls from history buffs to ghost hunters drawn by its blend of natural beauty, industrial history, and supernatural lore. Guided tours and unofficial explorations delve into parts of the mine, though many areas remain inaccessible due to safety concerns and natural decay. The natural environment around Crescent Mine only adds to its mystique. The dense forests, rugged terrain, and shifting weather contribute to the feeling of isolation and vulnerability. The mine sits surrounded by wild mountains that seem to guard its secrets jealously, adding a layer of foreboding to any visit. The stories of Crescent Mine are more than just ghost tales. They are a window into the lives of the miners who risked everything to eke out a living from the unforgiving mountain. The eerie phenomena serve as reminders of the human cost and emotional weight carried by those who worked underground, often alone and in perilous conditions. The mine's dark reputation has inspired numerous legends and cautionary tales among locals, warning visitors to respect the land and the spirits said to dwell there. Many believe that the restless energies are tied to the tragic events that unfolded beneath the surface, the accidents, the lost lives, and the deep isolation faced by the miners. Some speculate that the mine acts as a kind of spiritual trap, where the suffering and fear of past workers have imprinted themselves on the environment, creating a place where the veil between the living and the dead is thin. Others view it as a natural hotspot for paranormal activity, amplified by the dense geological formations and electromagnetic anomalies typical of mining regions. Whatever the explanation, Crescent Mine remains a powerful symbol of the unknown lurking beneath the surface. It is a place where history and haunting converge, inviting visitors to witness a world both real and spectral, grounded in human toil and mystery. As twilight falls over the Oregon mountains and shadows lengthen across the entrance to Crescent Mine, the flickering lights may begin again, and the whispers from the depths may rise once more. For those who dare to listen, the mine's haunting legacy endures, a chilling reminder that some places carry stories that refuse to be buried. Central State Hospital in Milledgeville, Georgia, stands as a haunting monument to a dark chapter in the history of mental health care. Once the largest mental institution in the world, this sprawling complex housed thousands of patients over more than a century of operation. Today, much of the hospital lies abandoned, its buildings slowly reclaimed by nature. But the echoes of its troubled past linger heavily in the air. The stories of mistreatment, despair, and untimely deaths have left behind an energy that many say is palpably, often terrifying. Established in 1842 as the Georgia State Lunatic, Idiot, and Epileptic Asylum, Central State was originally designed to provide care for the mentally ill, a group largely misunderstood and marginalized at the time. Over the decades, the hospital expanded dramatically, eventually becoming a massive campus that could accommodate over 12,000 patients. For a time, it was considered a model institution, but as years passed, overcrowding, underfunding, and outdated treatment methods turned it into a place of suffering and neglect. Patients at Central State endured conditions that would be considered cruel by today's standards. Overcrowded wards meant little privacy and unsanitary living conditions. Treatments ranged from the experimental to the outright barbaric, including electroshock therapy, lobotomies, and prolonged isolation. Many patients were admitted for reasons that now seem questionable, such as poverty, racial discrimination, or simply being different-tanned. Many never left the institution alive. It's estimated that tens of thousands of people died at Central State Hospital, their stories largely unrecorded or forgotten. The old cemetery on the grounds holds thousands of unmarked graves, silent testimony to the countless souls who passed away with little ceremony or remembrance. This unmarked burial ground is a place of quiet sorrow, where the past's pain seeps into the soil. Today, the hospital's vast campus is mostly abandoned, with nature creeping through cracks in concrete and vines overtaking walls. The sheer scale of the complex, with its labyrinth of corridors, empty wards, and derelict buildings, creates an atmosphere thick with history and unease. Visitors to the site often report feelings of being watched, unexplained cold spots, and sudden chills that cut through the humid Georgia air. One of the most frequently reported phenomena at Central State Hospital is the appearance of shadowy figures roaming the long, desolate corridors. These dark silhouettes are seen darting just beyond the edge of vision or standing silently in doorways, their forms often indistinct but undeniably human. Some say these shadows are the lingering spirits of former patients, trapped between worlds by trauma and neglect. Late at night, when the hospital campus is silent and the wind rustles through broken windows, many visitors hear the eerie sound of gurney wheels rolling down empty hallways. This slow, rhythmic clattering evokes images of patients being transported in distress or final moments before death. The sound seems to appear and vanish without explanation, sending chills down the spine of anyone nearby. In addition to auditory phenomena, unexplained noises such as whispers, distant cries, and soft moans are commonly reported. These sounds create a palpable atmosphere of sorrow and unrest, as if the walls themselves remember the anguish once housed within. Some visitors claim that the spirits of Central State do not remain confined to the hospital grounds. There are accounts of individuals experiencing paranormal activity in their own homes after visiting the site. Objects moving inexplicably, shadows in corners, and chilling sensations that suggest the spirits have followed them. This lingering presence serves as a stark reminder of the hospital's powerful emotional imprint. Paranormal investigations at Central State Hospital have captured compelling evidence supporting these haunting accounts. Electronic voice phenomena, EVP devices, have recorded faint voices calling out names, asking for help, or whispering unintelligible phrases. Thermal imaging cameras reveal cold spots and temperature anomalies that correspond with reported sightings. Photographs sometimes show orbs of light or shadow figures where none were visible to the naked eye. The hospital's old cemetery remains a particularly sensitive area. The unmarked graves and the sheer number of buried souls give it a weighty, somber energy. Visitors report an oppressive stillness and occasional whispers carried on the breeze. Some say they have seen ghostly figures wandering among the graves or felt unseen hands brush against them. The cemetery is a powerful reminder of the forgotten lives and untold suffering buried beneath the ground. Central State Hospital is not just a relic of architectural or medical history. It is a place where human suffering and institutional failure intersect with the supernatural. It serves as a chilling example of how trauma, neglect, and death can imprint themselves on a location, creating a lasting legacy beyond the physical decay. For those who walk the abandoned halls, the experience is often deeply emotional and unsettling. The atmosphere is heavy with memories of pain, loneliness, and forgotten voices. Even without direct encounters, the sense of history pressing in from every corner makes Central State a place that lingers in the mind long after leaving. The hospital's legacy continues to fuel interest among historians, paranormal enthusiasts, and those seeking to understand a darker side of mental health care history. Efforts to preserve parts of the site and document its past are ongoing, but the majority of the complex remains inaccessible or unsafe due to deterioration. As twilight descends over the sprawling grounds, the shadows lengthen, and the stories of Central State come alive in the fading light. The sound of gurney wheels echoes faintly, footsteps flicker in and out of hearing, and shadowy forms glide silently through the empty corridors. It is a place where the past is never truly gone, where the spirits of those who suffered wait silently for their stories to be remembered. Central State Hospital stands as a powerful reminder of humanity's past mistakes, the cost of neglect, and the lingering echoes of lost lives. Its haunted halls tell a story that is both tragic and compelling, a story of a place where darkness once reigned, and where the memories of those who endured still roam. Unseen but deeply felt, the Crescent Hotel in Eureka Springs, Arkansas, stands as one of the most famously haunted locations in the United States, its grandeur overshadowed by a dark and tragic past. Though the hotel continues to operate partially as a luxury resort, much of its original structure, especially the basement and older wings, remains sealed off, preserved in an eerie state of disuse. Within these forgotten halls, the echoes of suffering, deception, and death still linger, creating an atmosphere thick with sorrow and restless spirits. Built in 1886, the Crescent Hotel was initially designed to be a symbol of elegance and high society, attracting wealthy visitors to the scenic Ozarks. Its stunning Victorian architecture, luxurious rooms, and panoramic views made it a premier destination. For many years, the hotel thrived, hosting grand events and welcoming guests seeking comfort and beauty. However, its glamorous facade would soon be marred by a dark chapter that would forever stain its reputation. In the early 1930s, the hotel was converted into a cancer hospital under the ownership of Norman Baker, a charismatic but fraudulent medical quack. Baker claimed he had discovered a cure for cancer and attracted desperate patients from across the country seeking hope. Unfortunately, his treatments were nothing more than sham remedies, and many of those who came to the hospital suffered greatly, enduring agonizing pain without relief. The hospital quickly gained a reputation for tragedy. Patients died within its walls, their suffering compounded by neglect and deception. Families often had no answers and left with unanswered questions about the fate of their loved ones. The hospital was eventually shut down, and the hotel returned to its original function as a resort. But the pain and memories of those lost remained embedded in the building's very walls. Today, visitors to the Crescent Hotel often report paranormal activity. The basement, long sealed from public access, is said to be a hotspot for supernatural occurrences. Guests and staff alike have described the sensation of being watched, sudden chills, and unexplained noises that echo through the darkened corridors. One of the most common experiences involves the smell of antiseptic, a clinical scent that inexplicably fills the air in certain parts of the hotel. This odor is particularly unsettling because it appears even in areas where no cleaning or medical activity has taken place for decades. The antiseptic smell is often accompanied by faint moans or cries. Shadowy figures are frequently reported by visitors wandering the halls or peering through windows. These apparitions take many forms, from vague outlines to more distinct human shapes dressed in early 20th century attire. Some witnesses have described seeing women in hospital gowns, moving silently down hallways or standing near the old treatment rooms. These spirits seem restless, their presence a poignant reminder of the hotel's grim medical past. Doors and cabinets in the abandoned sections of the hotel often move on their own, opening and closing without explanation. Lights flicker sporadically in the hallways, sometimes revealing fleeting glimpses of shapes or faces before plunging back into darkness. Some guests have felt sudden cold spots, drops in temperature that contrast sharply with the otherwise warm Arkansas climate. Several visitors have reported hearing disembodied voices, whispered conversations, or even full sentences spoken in hushed tones. These voices sometimes call out names or plead for help, adding to the heavy atmosphere of sorrow and despair. At times, these sounds come from behind locked doors, as if the spirits are confined to the spaces where their suffering was greatest. Paranormal investigators who have explored the Crescent Hotel have recorded numerous pieces of evidence supporting its haunted reputation. Electronic voice phenomena, EVP sessions have captured cries, moans, and unexplainable phrases. Thermal cameras have detected cold anomalies in areas where no natural drafts exist. Photographs taken in the sealed-off wings sometimes reveal orbs of light or shadowy figures not visible to the naked eye, offering ghost tours and paranormal investigations that draw curious visitors from across the globe. These tours allow guests to explore some of the sealed sections under controlled conditions, experiencing firsthand the chilling ambience of the hotel's most haunted areas. The energy within the Crescent Hotel is not just a product of ghost stories or tourist lore. It feels persistent and profound. Many who have stayed or worked there speak of a weightiness in the air, an emotional heaviness that seeps into the bones. This sensation is more than fear. It's a deep empathy for the souls who endured unimaginable pain and betrayal within these walls. The hotel's layered history, from elegant resort to fraudulent hospital and back to a place of hospitality, creates a unique crossroads of the living and the dead. The juxtaposition of luxury and suffering, hope and despair, past and present, contributes to the complex haunting that defines the Crescent. The stories of those who died here, particularly the patients whose lives ended in agony, resonates throughout the hotel's sealed wings. Their voices and presence, whether through sounds, scents, or shadows, refuse to be silenced by time or renovation. They remind visitors that beneath the hotel's beautiful exterior lies a history of human vulnerability and loss. Walking through the dim corridors of the Crescent Hotel, especially in the abandoned basement and hospital wings, one can feel the weight of this history pressing in. The creak of floorboards, the whisper of the wind, and the occasional flicker of unseen lights blend to create an atmosphere charged with lingering sorrow and unresolved grief. At night, the hotel seems to come alive in a different way. The distant echoes of footsteps, the soft sobbing, and the faint aroma of antiseptic seem more intense, as if the spirits are more present when the world is quiet. Guests on overnight stays often recount unsettling experiences that stay with them long after they leave. The Crescent Hotel stands as a testament to both human ambition and human frailty. Its beauty and grandeur mask a past filled with suffering, deception, and death, but also the enduring presence of souls seeking acknowledgement. The spirits of the hotel are not malevolent, but sorrowful, caught in a place where their pain remains unresolved. For visitors, the Crescent is more than just a historic building or tourist destination. It is a living memory, a place where the past clings tightly to the present. Those who encounter its restless spirits often leave with a newfound respect for the lives behind the haunting. A reminder that history is not always comfortable, but it is always worth remembering. As dawn breaks over Eureka Springs, the Crescent Hotel stands silhouetted against the morning sky, its walls holding centuries of stories both beautiful and tragic. Inside, the spirits continue to wander, their moans and whispers carried on the wind, a haunting testament to a time when hope and heartbreak walked the same halls. The Mississippi House ruins in Vicksburg, Mississippi, stand as a haunting reminder of a turbulent past. Their crumbling stone walls and broken steps echoing stories of loss, conflict, and restless spirits. Though time has reduced this once grand 19th-century mansion to little more than fragments of its former self, the land remains charged with an energy that locals and visitors alike cannot ignore, presence steeped in history and sorrow that refuses to fade away. Constructed in the mid-1800s, the mansion was a symbol of Southern prosperity and elegance. It belonged to a prominent family that enjoyed riverfront views and the comfort of a sprawling estate. The home was designed to impress, with its stately architecture, wide verandas, and meticulously maintained gardens. For years, it stood as a beacon of wealth and tranquility along the banks of the Mississippi River. But all that changed with the outbreak of the Civil War. Vicksburg was a strategic stronghold, its location key to controlling the vital Mississippi River. The Siege of Vicksburg, lasting from May to July 1863, was one of the most grueling campaigns of the war. Union forces encircled the city, subjecting its residents and defenses to relentless bombardment. Homes, businesses, and plantations were caught in the crossfire, and the mansion was no exception. During the siege, the Mississippi House was heavily damaged. Cannon fire tore through its walls, fires ravaged its interiors, and the once beautiful gardens were trampled and burned. The family who had called the mansion home either fled or were caught in the chaos of war. When the smoke cleared and the fighting ceased, the house was left in ruins, a stark symbol of the destruction wrought by conflict. What remains today are fragments, crumbling stone walls that outline what was once a stately home, steps leading to nowhere, and the faintest traces of foundations swallowed by earth and ivy. Yet, despite its ruinous state, the site continues to draw visitors, not just for its historical significance, but for the chilling tales of haunting that have grown around it. Local legend tells of phantom soldiers who patrolled the grounds, ghostly figures dressed in the gray and blue uniforms of Confederate and Union troops. These spectral soldiers are said to march silently along the perimeter at dusk, their footsteps echoing faintly on the wind. Witnesses have described seeing these apparitions in full military attire, rifles slung over their shoulders, faces etched with the exhaustion and determination of men caught in a brutal war. They appear as if still caught in the endless struggle for control of the city, trapped in a moment, frozen by history and spirit. Unlike malevolent ghosts, these phantom soldiers seem to exist in a state of quiet vigilance. Some say they are guarding the site, eternally patrolling the grounds where so many lost their lives. Others interpret their presence as a manifestation of unresolved grief and the weight of the violent past pressing down on the land. Adding to the eerie atmosphere is the recurring apparition of a weeping woman in black. Local stories describe her as a sorrowful figure who appears at dusk, wandering slowly through the ruins. Dressed in a long black gown, her face often hidden behind a veil or bowed in grief. She moves with a haunting grace, as if searching for something or someone lost to time. Some say she is the widow of a soldier who died in the siege, eternally mourning her husband's fate amidst the ruins of the home they once shared. Those who have seen her report a profound sense of sorrow and empathy, as if the air itself is thick with her mourning. At times, she seems almost tangible, her presence accompanied by a chill that cuts through the humid Mississippi evening. Her figure fades as night deepens, leaving behind an atmosphere heavy with sadness and memory. Visitors to the Mississippi House ruins often speak of a unique and oppressive energy permeating the site. The air feels thick and heavy, charged with the accumulated pain and loss of a bygone era. Some describe sudden drops in temperature, unexplained cold spots that seem to follow the shadows. Others hear faint sounds carried on the breeze, the distant rumble of cannon fire. Whispered voices, or the soft, sorrowful weeping said to come from the woman in black, orbs of light hovering near the ruins, and shadows where no one stood. Audio recordings have picked up unexplained sounds, including distant footsteps and soft cries, lending further credence to the stories passed down through generations. The ruins have become a place where history and haunting converge, inviting visitors to reflect on the human cost of war and the enduring power of memory. The spectral soldiers and the weeping widow serve as poignant reminders of lives interrupted and grief unspoken. Their presence a form of silent testimony to the tragedy of the siege and the lives it forever altered. Locals treat the site with a mix of reverence and caution, often warning visitors to respect the land and the spirits said to dwell there. Many believe that the restless energy is tied to the unmarked graves scattered nearby, those of soldiers and civilians, alike whose final resting places remain unknown or forgotten. This belief adds a layer of solemnity to the ruins, turning them into a kind of open-air memorial for those who suffered and died. The Mississippi House ruins are not just relics of the past. They are a living connection to history, a place where the stories of courage, loss, and endurance continue to resonate. Walking among the broken walls and overgrown steps, visitors are reminded that the past is never truly gone, especially in places marked by trauma and remembrance. As the sun sets over Vicksburg and shadows lengthen across the Mississippi River, the ruins seem to awaken with a presence both sorrowful and steadfast. The phantom soldiers march on, and the weeping woman roams still, their stories whispered by the wind through the crumbled stones. The land holds onto them its history, its ghosts, and the memories that refuse to be let go. Soft crackle of an old record player, wind howling faintly in the distance, and there you have it. 20 places the living have left behind, yet the dead seem unwilling to leave. To ghost towns where every creak and whisper reminds you that you're not alone. These are not just buildings and ruins. They're graveyards for moments in time, echoes of lives once lived. If you ever find yourself standing before one of these places, remember this. Walls may crumble, paint may peel, but the memories, the spirits, they linger. Thank you, dear friends, for walking with me through the shadows tonight. Until we meet again, stay curious, stay safe, and whatever you do, don't look back.